All right, welcome back, everybody, to the professional interview series. Today we have Miss Audrey Goyer. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Audrey, real quickly, tell us uh, where you're at as far as like physical location and where you work and what you do.
Yep. So I am currently in the Surf City Community Center. So I work for the town of Surf City, which is located on Topsail Island in North Carolina. Currently, I'm the tourism coordinator for the town. So my normal office is up at the Welcome and Event Center, which is a facility that's kind of split between a welcome center, a small welcome center, and then the other side is a banquet room that we rent out. It's oceanfront for weddings, family reunions, parties, etc.
Cool. And I know we'll come back and talk about that a little bit.
So,
Um, I guess to start off, tell us where you grew up or where you're from.
yep. So I'm originally from Cincinnati, just north of Cincinnati, actually, in a town called Loveland, Ohio, the sweetheart of Ohio, if you will. So that's where I grew up, went to school K through 12. Um, it's kind of it. It's kind of boring, really.
What kind of stuff did you do for fun when you were a kiddo?
Yeah, so a lot. I mean, I really remember most of my childhood being outside. We had a creek. We lived right next to the bike trail. So that's where I was all summer. We were climbing trees up in the woods, riding our bikes downtown, things like that. And then every year we went away to summer camp. So that's really, I have my mom to blame, really, for how I ended up where I am and with what I'm doing. So.
And then, so after graduated high school, you went to college. You went to Eastern Kentucky University, which is where we met. What
Yep.
what, what made you choose EKU?
So I knew that, so growing up in Cincinnati, everyone's pretty tight knit there. And so I kind of knew I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted a new experience. But Eastern Kentucky University was still less than 2 hours ish away.
Mhm.
And then I had some family that had graduated from EKU. So I went and walked through campus, did a tour, fell in love with it, had no idea what I was getting myself into. It's very different, but it was an awesome experience. Um, Halfway through school, I thought about transferring back to Cincinnati, and I wouldn't. I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I stayed at EKU.
And so, how did you end up with the RPA major? How'd you run into that?
Yeah, so I remember vividly my freshman year of high school or college. I was hanging out with some people, and there was a kid named Corey, and he said, I'm going to school and I'm going to graduate with Parks and Recreation. And I laughed at him and said, good luck ever making any money.
All right.
And then I moved on. And anyway, so I was going into my junior year. So I'd finished my sophomore year and I had an education degree, is where I started out. Wasn't really feeling it. It wasn't doing anything for me. Um, and so my parents took me down to school and they had me go into the career counseling center.
Mhm.
And I walked in, and it was right before school was supposed to start. And I walked in, and I remember she made me cry because I realized I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Right.
But everything that I told her, she said, you should really consider Parks and Recreation. Um, you can make a career out of it. You're not going to be, on the side of the road begging for money every day. Um, and you'll still get, always wanted to work with kids. So it was an opportunity for me to still work with kids, but just not in a traditional educational setting. So I ended up actually taking a semester off my first semester junior year. My parents were like, if you're paying a lot of money, you need to make sure that this is really what you want to do. So that's what I did. And um, that's how I landed in Parks and Rec.
And so, throughout your experience during your Parks and Rec degree, what are some of the things that you feel like really helped you either solidify your choice or experiences that you look back on and think they were good for your professional development or things? What kind of things happened during your time in that degree that helped you out?
Yeah, I remember I finally found people that I related to, was kind of the first thing. I remember we walked into class and immediately made friends. Um, I'm very tactile. I like to learn by doing. So that was another thing RP is great at. And then I remember one day thinking, I when you found the right major, it's because you finally like to do your schoolwork.
Hmm.
Like it's not homework anymore. It's fun,
Right.
even though you're learning. So that was the moment that it really clicked for me that I was in the right setting. Um,
So, and what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2015.
It's been a few years.
Yeah, I know. It's
What,
crazy.
what I know. So I know at the end you did an internship at the conclusion of your degree. Where did you go for that?
Yes, so I actually went back to my parents' house, and over the summer I worked at the YMCA with their summer camp program, and it's the biggest YMCA in the country. It's the Countryside Y, um, but they have a pretty big day camp program
Yeah.
where they're split up into. And I'd actually interned the summer before, but for I think it was something like 15 hours. It was very small. So I ended up going back and I interned with the High Adventure camp. So I was getting a lot of the outdoor experience. So we did like rock climbing, canoeing, kayaking, and a lot of we were the only camp that went on 2 field trips a week for sure.
Okay.
So I got to, that was good for me because I also got to talk and communicate and have build relationships with other recreation professionals um, by doing that. So it was very cool.
And so
And then go ahead.
I can say at the conclusion of your internship, what was your game plan?
I remember thinking I don't really know, but I knew that I liked summer camps. I liked working with kids, and that felt very natural to me. It still does. Um, so I kind of honed in on that and pursued that. I tried to. There's not a lot for inexperienced people in the off season in summer camps, just because their full time year round staffing is low. Um, so I started exploring a couple different options. I ended up I had a connection with a property management company. So that's what I went into that winter. And I was miserable over overseeing a high end commercial real estate property. Um, so that was really, I mean, that really made sense to me that I did find what I needed. That was the right path. I had to go off of it to make sure, but now I know.
Right.
So
And how long were you with the property management company?
7 months. And for 2 of those 7 months, I knew I was leaving to go sleep in a tent for the next 8 months.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what was the next step? I'm excited to hear about this.
yeah, so Kirsten, she's one of my good friends, and she was one of my good friends in college. And then afterwards, she was like, "You need to come to camp. You need to come to camp." And I was like, "How do I leave a full-time, well-paying position with benefits and everything to go sleep in a tent in the woods with no cell phone service?" But I would recommend to everybody, jump, do it. If it's the right path, it's the right path. So I went up to New York. I went to work at Southwoods Camp. It's an overnight camp. The kids go for 4 weeks, so they have 2 sessions in the summer. It's probably 50-50 international staff and then American staff. But again, it felt natural to be there. It was very cool experience. I got a little bit of leadership experience. They brought me in at a higher level, I guess. I wasn't a camp counselor. I was a Trekkie, is what they're called, but I ran the outdoor course and then went on field trips, and they trusted me to drive the 16 passenger van and all that good stuff. But
And how's she doing,
she's
Kristen?
good. She's good. She actually just got married. And
Everybody's getting married.
I know, I know. So she just got married and she's in Kansas City, and I think she is working at a school for kids with, I want to say, behavioral disabilities, but she loves it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to reach out to her. Just to kind of give you a pat on the back, something I admired about you and her, which made me think about it, is how positive you both were, always smiling and positive no matter what was going on. So, and as a
Right.
professor, it's super appreciated. You don't know how often you're sitting there looking at your people like going,
And they're zombies.
yeah, they're zombies, or they're grumpy because it's like 9 a.m. and they're in class.
Uh-huh.
You know. Um, So anyway, thank you,
Yeah.
and I see it's continues because you're all smiles all the time.
Well,
Uh,
I'll tell you too, you helped because I carried that 78-cent can of corn around with me for a while after school.
oh Lord, that's a whole other story, right? Goodness. So what did you end up doing with it?
The can of corn?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I
what
can't even remember. I
was
think
that?
I,
That was a prize for something in class, right?
oh yeah, it was something in class. And I remember thinking, what am I really going to do with this? I think I probably threw it away.
I don't blame you. I don't blame
But
you.
Kirsten still has her Brooks and Dunn CD in her car.
No way.
Yeah, she does. We were
You know what?
texting about it.
I'm gonna have to bring back that. So like, and I don't know when, because for the folks that have no idea what we're talking about, I used to give away these random, weird, odd prizes for in class for different stuff, right? And
Yeah, yeah, just
um,
random.
yeah, because I remember somebody got like I found at a yard sale like a cat statue that was like this tall, and why I don't know.
Right, but for $1,
Yeah,
somebody will want it.
yeah, same with like a can of corn or a Brooks and Dunn CD or whatnot. Who knows?
Yeah,
Okay, so to get us back on track,
yeah.
after spending some time in a tent in New York, what was your next step?
Yep. So at that point, I had 2 years of experience under my belt, but I felt really good about it. Um, I had the nonprofit side and then I had the private sector side. Um, but I knew I needed a little bit more experience. I figured it would be another year or two before I was going to get a full-time position. That was my real goal. Um, so I went back as a substitute teacher back to my parents' house and uh, substitute taught at the high school that I ended up going to. Um, and I taught most of the time I was substitute teaching in high school, which is kind of where I have unintentionally um, ended up loving. Basically, I always thought of myself as an elementary kid person. But even now, I work a side job and at a restaurant, and the high school kids, they're my favorite people to talk to. They like talking to me anyway. But so I did that, and I worked in the special ed room a lot, and I loved that. Um, so then after that, I ended up getting another position at a YMCA in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I was there again. I was the adventure supervisor. So I got the leadership role. I was there for not only the summer camp season, but I also did outdoor education, which I never, I guess we had done outdoor education at another YMCA growing up, but I just never put two and two together. So that was really cool to have an opportunity to see that again, things can open up. I wanted to be a teacher, education, why not merge the two, or teacher and recreation and merge the two.
Yeah. And,
Um,
and how long were you in Indiana?
I was there for 7 months, I think is what my contract was. So I was there for spring, summer, and then fall.
And did you know when you went in that it was going to be just 7 months, or did you think it was going to be longer than that? Like,
Yes,
you
yeah.
think it would be renewed? I guess.
Pardon?
Did you think it would be renewed after that time frame?
No. I thought maybe there might be an opportunity for growth if they're bringing in somebody for 7 months.
Okay.
Um, that potentially they would be looking to hire someone full time year round. Um, but I didn't go in there with that expectation. I just thought because I had another opportunity to go back to Southwoods. Um, but this was at I guess, a higher role. Um, and I knew that would be good for me, and then I knew that just the longer time frame would be good for me.
Yeah.
At that time, there was some stuff going on with family, so I was close to home too, so I could
Yeah.
pop back home if I needed to.
And so after 7 months, I guess not just what was your next step, what was your game plan? Like when you were thinking about your professional life, what was your
Mhm.
game plan with that?
Yeah, so at that time I would have been 24. And so at that point it was really my goal to get a full-time job. Whatever it was going to take, I had to lower my standards, look in the right places, look for the right thing, and I needed that full-time position. So I started just opening up my mind, places, just knowing what to search in Indeed,
Yeah.
things like that. So I ended up finding recreation program coordinator down here in North Carolina, which was just by chance. Sent in my application. Everything in the government works slow. So it was a while later, and I heard back, popped on an interview, and then before I knew it, I was the final candidate. It was the day before Thanksgiving, so I drove down a 10-hour, 11-hour drive by myself
Good
just to
grief.
turn around and drive right back. But it was worth it, obviously. Um, so I met that goal. And then I really didn't know coming into this position. They had previously had a summer camp program that was like 15 kids, just a couple hours a day. So they brought me in to build the summer camp program. So now they serve over 100 kids a week, full day. So from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. They go on 2 field trips a week. And then for anybody watching, if you don't know, government, we try to keep things affordable. So all of that is for under, I guess at the time it was for $150 for like 80 hours worth of childcare, which is crazy, but we were crazy too.
And that's in the same space you work at now?
Yes, so that was my first position when I moved here,
Okay.
was to just kind of overhaul that program.
And then I know you transitioned within that system, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have the community center, and then there is the Welcome and Event Center, and that they were doing a transition to merge the tourism department into Parks and Recreation, um, as it should be. We have probably 3,200 full-time year-round residents um, prior to COVID, I would say,
Sure.
but we see probably 40 to 60,000 people in the summer. So Parks and Rec and tourism is huge. That's our main industry here on the island. Um, so it was a big deal being moved over there. An opportunity opened up for that, and I jumped right on it. I knew, I won't tell them, but I knew that working in tourism would be a different aspect, and I needed to grow career wise. So even though my goal is to one day get back with kids in whatever capacity that might be. Um,
So that's the role you have now.
Pardon?
And that's
Yes.
the role you have now. So tell us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis and overall.
Yeah. So we are a super small town. Um, I guess day to day is I'm handling the Facebook page. I'm handling the town website. Not only the Parks and Rec page, I handle it for utilities, town administration, everything like that. And then I also do Parks and Rec, so the Parks and Rec side of things. So I'm at the special events, I'm helping out with summer camps. Um, every day is completely different, wildly different, but it's good. It's very good. I'm trying to think of what else I do. We rent out beach wheelchairs. That's huge down here. Just being inclusive
Right.
is kind of one of our newer goals. So that's been fun.
So, and how long have you been in that position?
I have been in this position for 19 to 2021, 2 years, two and a
Okay.
half years. Yeah.
And so as you think about like, not specifically, but in general, you said you like to get back to working with kiddos and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, when you think about your game plan professionally, do you have any ideas of where you might be headed, or just you
Hmm.
know, I know life takes you a lot of different directions, but
Yeah.
what is, as you think about yourself professional
Mhm.
development wise, what's next on the horizon for Audrey?
Yeah, so I've thought long and hard about going and getting my master's um, degree, probably in North Carolina. Um, my family always said, you know, people can take things away from you, but they can't take your education away. So I think that's important. Um, but I'd love to get back into maybe the camp industry, whether that's day camp or overnight camp, at a full-time year-round position,
Sure.
but doing something along those lines, whatever capacity that might be. So,
So, kind of in line with that, if you could have any job in the world, you could have your dream job. What kind of work would you be doing? What would your job be?
hmm. I think I'd work for an overnight camp. Just be outside as much as I am inside. Um, I like teaching camp counselors. Um, so, you know, you get that kid interaction, but then you also get to build into young adults. Uh, professionally, you know, that's always fun to talk to people about, you
Yeah.
know, different avenues that they could go down. I'm sure that's why you love what you do.
Oh yeah. No,
um,
go ahead.
oh, you go, you go.
I was gonna say, one of the things that I think is probably the coolest part of my job, I'd say, is stuff like this, where you know uh, you're in the classroom, you're trying to do certain things, and you get to learn a little bit about the students. And
Mhm.
sometimes they add you on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, right?
Right.
And years later, you run across them for various reasons, and you see what they've become. And some people, it's very predictable, right?
Hmm.
I probably could have guessed that Audrey was going to do pretty well, and some are not, and you're just like, man, like they blow your mind. And then I look for it, like I think about like my professors that see me where I'm at, and um, it may be a newsflash to some folks. Others would be, yeah, I know, but I'm guessing several of my professors in my undergrad are very surprised at where I ended up. Right?
Hmm.
They thought, well, this guy may be working in construction. He likes doing hands-on stuff, and that's really where he belongs. Or maybe, like I always liked wildlife, so
Hmm.
for various reasons, and also I wasn't a very good undergraduate student, right?
Me
And
either.
right, so I think the best part to kind of go back is just like see how you know with all the things that happen in life, and to see these young people be successful, and uh, you know the moth becomes the butterfly or whatever, the caterpillar becomes a butterfly or whatnot, not the moth, the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, and it's so rewarding, and it's almost like they become your pseudo kids, right?
Mhm.
And you included, but it's you're so proud of how great these people are doing, in a variety. And and I love hearing updates. We talked about before we started the video about your recent personal news, and just hearing that kind of stuff. Like it may sound odd. I don't mean it creepy or anything like that. It's just so exciting to hear good news. About what's happening in people's lives, whether they're engaged, married, having kids, and or got new jobs, or uh,
Mhm.
that part is I love teaching and having them in there and all that, but it's the other end of stuff that I really love. Um, but enough about me. Sorry, this is about you.
No, that's good. That's
Um,
good.
so the last question I have for you,
Mhm.
and you can make this as long or as brief as you want, is when young people, whether they're students or young professionals in our field, think about what they want to do in their life, and where they want to go, what they should think about, all that. What kind of advice would Audrey give to these young professionals, these students that are still kind of finding their way?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think these videos, I think this is a really cool um, way to present that to students. I know after college, at one point, I reached out to you and I was like, "Am I doing the right thing? Where should I look for jobs? What what do I do? And so I think this is really cool that, just you get to talk to different people and see where they ended up.
Right.
But I would recommend to everybody something that I kind of push myself to believe is nothing good ever happens without taking a chance. So you've got to jump at some point. It's going to be scary. I never look back at things and think at something scary that I did that was scary to me. Moving here and I didn't know anybody, not a soul. I moved to this random island in North Carolina all by myself. And I don't regret that one bit because I knew I was doing it to grow, professionally, personally. So I don't think you're ever going to look back on an opportunity and think that. I had something else and I can't remember what it was. It's the one thing I didn't write down because you made me think of it.
Well,
Um,
I have a piece of advice somebody asked me for recently, and I thought about it when you were saying that is, don't let other people close doors for you, or and
yeah,
so and I see that a lot more with younger folks is they're like, well, I don't qualify, or I shouldn't do this, or I'm too scared, or whatever. Maybe I'm like, don't be the limitation. If you're gonna get told no, that's fine. Let them tell you you're not qualified. Let them tell you that they're looking for somebody else, but don't do it to yourself,
right. Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You let other people determine if you're qualified or not,
Right.
and or even if you are, like don't close the door yourself.
Right. Well, and I've seen that in this position is, for a while there, I was an interim public information officer. I have no qualifications that make me, I have nothing that makes me a public information officer. I don't have a communications degree. I was never a good writer. I was never into reading, but there's potential. And I think that employers see that. And then I also think that, uh, oh, there it was again, and I just dropped it again.
It's a good thing this is recorded, right?
You were saying, you said, don't let somebody else put it on you.
Close the door. Don't let somebody else close the door on you.
Don't close the door. I can't remember. I'll think of
That's okay.
it.
Well, that's all I've got, and I know I've taken about half an hour of your time, so I don't want to take any more. But I sincerely appreciate you.
Yeah,
Um, and,
absolutely.
and again, and I was being serious. It's always fun to look back and or find you and see what you're doing and all that. So at any point you want to send me updates about what's going on in Audrey's life, just know they're always welcome to be received,
Yeah,
and it
awesome.
makes me happy.
Thank you.
So, uh,
Yeah.
and I know it's probably it's 3 o'clock here, so it's 4 there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Yep.
almost time to go home?
It is almost that time.
All right. Well, thank you again, Audrey. And if you need anything, you let me know.
Yeah. And if your students need anything from me, let me know too. I'd be happy to put in a word or anything like that. Just
And
even talk to them
you can
about.
find you on LinkedIn, right?
Pardon?
You can find you on LinkedIn.
Yes, I am on LinkedIn. Yep.
So I encourage my students to get on there. I tell them it's like Facebook but for professionals, so it's a little bit more boring, but
Yeah.
it's a great
Well,
service.
it is a great service, and it's a lot of people now. It's, I think I'd say it's more competitive. I think it was your class you made us get them.
I still do on a lot of class, so I don't doubt that.
Yeah, I think you were the class that you made us create a LinkedIn, and I thought, I'll never use that. I'm more of a paper person, but I use it. I keep it updated because you never know.
Yeah. That's it. So that, I think that's a great thing is you never know what's going to happen. You never know what card is going to be played or, what opportunities will be presented.
Hmm.
And that's what I like about our profession in general is there's so much fun stuff that can be had if you're just willing, kind of like you said, to take a chance.
Take a chance, jump, do it.
Yeah. Audrey, thank you so much. And we will talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.